let's talk about Jillian versus the Parasite Planet, and talk about your career and everything we can work in here. But esteemed audience knows I never summarize anyone else's book. Why would I make you sit through me doing that and getting it wrong? So if you would, tell the esteemed audience, what do they need to know about Jillian versus Parasite Planet to either be purchasing or pre-purchasing their copy?
Oh, wow. Well, the way I write books is I tend to kind of mash a lot of things together, and this is no exception. My agent, because she's an amazing agent, decided that the best way to summarize this book is to call it The Martian for Kids. And actually, one of the blurbers came up with that same thing too. And I think it's a good description. So it's basically it's a survival story. I wrote it with my son in mind, and he at the time that I wrote this, he was 11. He was a very reluctant reader, and so I wanted to write something that he was going to find interesting to read. And he was really into survival stories, really into like outdoorsy stuff. And his favorite book at the time was Hatchet by Gary Paulson. And yeah, and I wanted to write basically something like that, but in space. And so that's what this is. When I was pitching it, I was calling it Hatchet in Space. And then someone pointed out to me that that was wildly confusing because there's, I guess, a movie called Hatchet that's about an axe murderer. And that doesn't really go well with a kid's book. So I'm going to go with The Martian for Kids. It makes more sense and is less confusing about axe murderiness. But so Jillian is she's 11 and she has anxiety, and one thing that was really important for me to do in this book was to depict a child with anxiety the way anxiety actually looks in children, because in media so often the shorthand for anxiety is like, oh, they're the shy kid, like they're socially anxious. But my son has anxiety, and it actually took me a really long time to get a diagnosis for him because I didn't really know what I was looking at, because I grew up with stories, and in all of the media depictions that I could see in fiction, like the anxious kid, the kid with anxiety was the shy one, was the, introverted one who wasn't outgoing. And my kid is extremely outgoing, is extremely extroverted, also has severe anxiety. And so I wanted to depict that in fiction in a way that I had never actually seen it done before. But at the same time, I wanted it to be like just this big fun adventure story. And so Jillian goes to space with her parents, and they have this kind of portal-based space travel. So they're ending up like on planets that are like well outside of our solar system. And their job is they're supposed to bring back resources for green tech here on Earth. And right now they're looking for this specific type of algae. And Jillian has always wanted to go to space with them, and they've always said, no, you can't. It's, we can't bring you to space. You're 11. This is a bad idea. But then they surprise her on Take Your Kid to Work Day, which was my agent's idea. I said, what's the plausible reason why they would take her to space? And she goes, well, it's Take Your Kid to Work Day. And you're a good agent, and I like you. Saved me there because I had no idea. So they take her to space, to this planet which they have been to many, many times. They know it's safe. This is like a totally low-risk environment. And of course, things go sideways. And Jillian ends up stuck there with her parents are out of commission, essentially. They're alive. They're just, they're not helping right now. And so she's essentially on her own, along with this kind of multi-tool space probe thing that they bring with them, which is the semi-autonomous bioreconnoitering intelligent nanobot array, Sabrina. And so Jillian and Sabrina basically have to figure out how to stay alive on this planet, which has turned out to be extremely hostile all of a sudden, and to keep Jillian's parents alive long enough to rendezvous with the portal when it comes back in a week. And so it's a survival story in space is really the best way I can describe it. I really like the Martian for Kids comparison. It's apt. It is very science heavy. It has a parasite that I got to invent the life cycle of, that was fun.
Cross that one off the bucket list.
Absolutely. I've wanted to write something with mind control parasites for a very long time, and now I have. My dad is a molecular biologist, and he is always he was the kind of person that, like, when I was a kid, you don't want to watch science fiction movies with, because he'd sit there going, "That's not how that would work. That's not how that would work. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong." But he read this, and he likes the science, and he sends me reviews of my own books that he finds online, and he's like, they didn't mention how good the science is in this book. They should have mentioned how good the science is. So I'm here to tell everyone my dad says the science is good. So I'm bad at telling synopses of my own books, as you can probably tell. It's a survival story in space with a snarky, shape-shifting nanobot array and portal-based space travel and creepy mind-controlled parasites. And it's science fiction-y, and it's a little bit scary, and it's a little bit funny, I'm told, which is good, because I never thought that I could really write humor, but apparently I did, and that's nice. And I just had a lot of fun writing it, and I hope it's fun to read.
I won't mention the author's name because they'd be mortified if I did. But I reviewed quite a few books over the years at middlegradeninja.com, available exclusively now, esteemed audience. And I had written a very positive review of this author's book. And then her father emailed me and said, but here are some additional positive qualities she missed. And I saved that email. It's one of my favorite things I've ever received. Kudos to that guy.
That's delightful.
I mean, maybe write the email, think about it, then don't send it next time. But still.
Yeah, the intentions are good, though. That's honestly
that. Tell somebody when you see them just overflowing with pride for their child. Like,
yeah.
So I wanted to ask a bunch of questions about the book and the science. Sure. Let's start with anxiety, because I like this description just on page 10. If I may read part of your own book to you.
Sure.
But since when did that stop her planning something out way, way, way in advance? It was how she kept her mind calm, her thoughts in order. Not only that, but it was fun. And of course, when we meet Jillian, not a spoiler early on, she's got a very distinct plan about how many years it's going to be before she gets to space, the exact steps she has to take. So this, when I read that, I wondered, is that aspirational for you, or how is that? Now that I'm hearing, maybe it's about your son. Does your son do this this planning out in advance to manage anxiety?
He does, and I did when I was a kid, and I still do it now. And it's fascinating how different media depiction of anxiety in kids is from actual anxiety in kids. Because, like, one thing that my son will do is he will ask the same questions over and over and over. And it's not that he's not listening. And some people think that he's not listening, he's not paying attention. It's not that. It's that he wants to know the exact second something changes. Like, he wants to know what's going to happen in order. And anytime there's a deviation from that, like, he wants to be apprised of it. He wants to know how to prepare for it. And, like, I'm the same way. And I think that translates really well to a survival story, or even, like, before we even get to the survival story part of this, like, how she does plan things out and how she does have this whole scheme, like, that she's trying to set in motion. And she knows, like, she's 11, but she knows that it's probably going to take her a couple of years to really, like, bring this plan to fruition. And she's totally fine with that. And that's exactly how it was as a kid. And it's how I am now. And I like being able to depict a kid like that, who has that kind of long game mentality and is willing to follow through. And then, of course, when things sneak up on her in this book, she realizes, like, hey, actually, things are going way too fast. I'm not ready. This is not in keeping with my plan. And so she has a bit of a crisis there, where she's like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, because, she wants to do the thing, but she wants to, meet the thing on a battlefield of her own choosing, on her own terms, and do it that way. And then things get sprung on her, and that kind of throws her for a loop. And that's very much my kid. And it's very much me. Yeah.
So would you, as a parent of a child with anxiety, if you had access to a space portal, say, surprise, we're going to space?
You know what? The thing is, with at least the way anxiety manifests in my son, he sometimes needs to be moved out of his comfort zone. Like he's very much like, if he doesn't do the scary thing, he regrets not doing the scary thing. And if he does do the scary thing, he's really proud of himself afterward for having done the scary thing. But he does need a bit of a nudge. And when Jillian's parents tell her, like, hey, we're going to go to space, they give her the choice. They're like, we thought this would be a fun surprise for you. We totally understand if you're freaking out right now. You don't have to go. Like, the initial plan was she was going to go and stay with her aunt. And there's like, we can call her. She could be here in 15 minutes. You do not have to come. They're not like, bodily bundling her into a spaceship. They're giving her the choice. I would give my kid the choice, but I might also surprise him with it, because and when they surprise her with it, like, they know she has anxiety, but also their intentions are very good. They know that she's wanted to go to space with them for years, and on face value, like, she even says to herself, like, she doesn't know why she can't, like, why her brain doesn't just let her like this. Like, why her brain gets in the way and makes her question, like, whether she should be doing this, or whether it's something she'll enjoy, or whether it's too dangerous. And that's very much my son coming through. If he gets kind of bodily nudged out of his comfort zone, he always regrets not moving outside of his comfort zone. He always is glad in hindsight when he is moved out of his comfort zone. And that's what her parents were doing there. It was with the best of intentions.
If things had gone as planned, it would have been a lovely day.
It would have. They would have had space picnics and, like, do a campfire in space with some space s'mores and do everything she wanted to do. But instead, she got to have an adventure. And, if it was scary, but, that's what makes it an adventure, is things didn't go as planned.
We were just going to have a nice calm picnic at Jurassic Park, and,
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong,
So who's the ideal reader for this story? Did you write with somebody specific in mind, or a specific type of reader that you are hoping this will find its way to?
I wrote it for really all the kids. Like, my kid is so much like me at that age, and so I really wrote it, I guess, for all the other kids who are like us, who have these big plans of adventures they want to go on, but, like, also in a way kind of timid in the actual choosing to go on the adventures. Like, when I was a kid, I had all these plans of things I wanted to do, but, like, if I'm honest with myself, I was the kid who stayed in my room all day and read books. I wasn't going out and having adventures. I was reading about other people having adventures. And so it's and I would make plans for adventures I wanted to go on. I would have lists of the things I would bring with me. I was a weirdo, and I still am, and that's okay. And I wrote it for the other weirdos, I guess, the weirdos of the younger generation who want to go off and have adventures and make lists of all the things they're going to bring with them, and maybe aren't entirely sure what they're getting into, and maybe sometimes bite off a little more than they can chew, and that's part of an adventure too.
I have, just as we're recording this, purchased a used virtual reality for a PlayStation. So I'm, like, marveling at technology that came out in 2016, 2018. I'm way behind. I think that's how I'm an adventure from now on. I did a video of swimming with great white sharks, and they swim right up to. So, oh, that was wonderful. There is no need for me to get into a cage with in the actual. Nope. If somebody puts together a video of climbing Kilimanjaro, I will watch the heck out of it. I will enjoy it. I feel like I'm there, and I didn't hypothermia. Fine. No frozen fingers. This is great. Which I think that's the same. One of the things that books have always provided me with is, I can read about really brave people doing really brave things that I would never do, because I can't foresee it going necessarily that well for me. I would definitely be in far more trouble than the character was in.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe that's a slogan for librarians. If you're listening, you can have that: books, virtual reality of the mind. There you go.
I like it.